Hi, family. Truly, it is a joy to be back with you. And I recognize that my reading, your listening, we are in a season. Seasons come and seasons go. What I want to say before I actually start to continue the reading of the letter is that sometimes we go through an experience and it is to benefit us. Romans 8:28, that God works everything together for the good of those who love him, who are the called according to his purpose. Yes, we are to benefit, and others are to benefit as well. And sometimes God may say to a person, he told me, write about the experience. I had no idea. That was in 2003, what I would be like, the journey, what would happen all along the way. And I'm so glad that I have written. I believe in my heart that many persons, or some persons, whichever adjective we're going to use, have benefited. But there are many things that we really wouldn't get to know until we get to heaven. But I know that when we document things, the experience cannot just stay with us. It helps our family, it helps our friends, and of course, it helps us, definitely. All right, look, let me stop talking. Let me start talking as I read. All right, so I say here, after I had mentioned about Ruby saying, yes, I'm ready to cross the Red Sea with you, I say here, sometimes our life experiences may isolate us in a sense. At times, God isolates us, deliberately so. I have been a bit mystified by some occurrences in my adventure. For example, in the opening furlongs of my journey, I made attempts to share my experience with one or two folk whom I felt would have understood. But try as I might, it just never worked out. It just never did. I finally concluded it was not the thing to do. After some years, I was led to reflect that in their human wisdom, they may have discouraged me and thrown cold water on my faith. Then, admittedly, I was naive enough to think that everyone would understand. Yes, naive, but I have learned. In a section here called Isolation, both Paul and Moses went into a period of being alone with God, a period of isolation. I find the writer's exposition, on this very thought provoking. He says, let God isolate us. I do not mean the isolation of a monastery. In this isolating experience, and this is really deep, he develops an independence of faith and life so that the soul no longer needs constant help, prayer, and faith, or the attention of his neighbor. This is obviously a deeper level of transaction with God, a deeper faith experience. So you see the title of the letter. This connects with the experience of the third woman recorded in an earlier prayer letter. I don't know if those of you who went to streams, if you know that thing about the third woman. Very powerful. Most of us at some point need a shoulder to cry on, a human face to look at, someone to comfort us. God is not enough. We we all in our Christian walk know that stage. By the way, now I say that my one of my favorite books, by Hannah Whitall Smith. Oh grief! I usually have it here on my bed with a bundle of books. They look like a tornado ripped through there. Um, she has a chapter which I have marked to read again. Chapter called "God is Enough." All right. The writer goes on to acknowledge, and rightfully so, the writer says, quote, such assistance and inspiration from other members are necessary and have their place in the Christian's development. This is very deep. But there comes a time when they act as a direct hindrance to the individual's faith and welfare. God knows how to change the circumstances to give us an isolating experience. End of quotation. But why would God want to give us an isolating experience? From my own experience, I would say that God wants to teach us that He is enough. He's strong enough to carry us single-handedly. That is why he wanted me to understand when I ran to my friend Joe, who he allowed to comfort me at that stage in my walk. But then he said, next time, run to me. And I've done that repeatedly. Not one of my friends can say, and I say this very humbly, I have beautiful friends. Not one of my friends can say I have called them all woe be gone, begging for their prayer. Neither my husband nor my mother had seen me shriveled up and gasping for the last breath of faith. Help! Help! I'm drowning. And I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to pause here. I'm going to pick up next time. Yeah, but then I go on to say, how do we get through without dropping through, dragging through, struggling through, etc. So come back with me. We never know what experiences we may meet in life, so we should never belittle anyone's experience. God bless you. See you next time.